Okay, I think that's working. Hi everyone, it's me again. I don't have my camera on this time because it was messing up last time, so I'm going to try it without a camera this time. But yeah, this is the well, I said tutorial 7 worksheet. This is the one for this. No, not that one. This one. It says it's due in by the 3rd of February. I haven't actually checked. Is it due in by the 3rd of February? Yes, it is. So I thought I'd get it done soon rather than later. So here it is. Oh, there's a color palette thing. Ignore that. So this is this exercise. Let me open it up. Yes, this is a good decision. Oh, this is the same thing. We'll just leave that there. So here's the exercise. Okay, you got part A and you got part B, right? Am I still recording? Yes, excellent. Oh, and I have to turn off my fancy zones. Ignore that. Yes, okay. So your tutorial leaders might have said this, but like they probably won't go over part A just because it's quite short and it's quite sort of like quick. They will go over part B. So they said like my one specifically said like, oh, you can just do part B and that's fine. But I'm going to do both because I don't know why I keep making myself suffer. Anyway. But now I suffer, so you don't have to. I guess that's just my personality. Okay, so we have part A here and part 1 and 2. Quick, if you want to get this done quickly, I'm going to tell you the answer to question 1 is C and the answer to question 1 is D. Right, you can go on to part B now if you want. But I'll explain why to the people who stuck around. So, the answer is C for the first one. So why is it C? Now, if you sum up... Okay, so first of all, let's take a look at this one over here. So we have this expression for sort of how we're going to work with our budget. What does this specifically say? Let me just check. This is our demand for goods. Marshallian, yeah. This is our demand for goods. And so if we sum all these up, we get this lovely summation relation. So it's the sum of Pi times Qi equals the sum of alpha I plus sum of... You get the idea. So if we sum up all that, but the thing is, we could also replace this front term, PIQI, with budget, because, okay, so the point of adding up is that you have to exhaust your budget entirely, okay? So the point of that is that PI times QI equals Y. I can show you this through what I think showed up in the notes on topic 1. It is here somewhere. Did that work? Yeah, there we go. Okay, it'll show you in adding up here. So if consumer exhausts the total budget, this holds as an equality, which is known as adding up. See? So basically we want to exhaust things. Now, function of y and p is just going to be q in some cases. Okay, that's basically what q is. And so p times q equals y. So we can replace it. Here I've summed sort of the replacement. Summation of p and q is equal to summation of y. Y doesn't have an I because... it's not for a specific good, it's for all goods. So if this is the case, we can restructure the equation, and then because we have two summations with y's in them, we can sort of subtract one y from each other, and we get this summation here. So now we've got that. Now, given this equation has to be satisfied for all given values of y, and given the equation equals 0, all our coefficients have to equal 0 as well. I mean, they technically could cancel each other out, but we're not going to sort of think about that right now, because... I don't think they even mention it. So just all the coefficients have to equal 0. You see how that works, basically. So all of them have to equal 0. But now we know that one of them is the outlier because we've got alpha I equaling 0, okay. Gamma I equaling 0, okay. But now we have beta I minus 1 equaling 0. So if beta I minus 1 equals 0, that means the summation of beta I equals 1, right? So that's what the condition means, and then if we sort of extrapolate that, that's the case. This also shows up, I think, in... Let me just do that. This shows up in one of these, I think, as well. The whole adding up thing. I think it's this. Yeah. Don't look at that. Yeah, it shows up... Yeah, it shows up here in question 3. So if you want to sort of... This is sort of like the guide to it, and I just extrapolated it from that. Okay, let's get away from my horrible quiz results. Don't show it, don't show it. Okay, on to question 2. The answer, yeah, is D. And we want to sort of satisfy warp here. So let's read through the question. Ron, what a name. Sorry to any Rons who are watching. You're probably very lovely. Why did I say that? Oh my god. Okay. Ron, have a good day. Okay. Ron consumes 3 goods. Q1, Q2, and Q3. The price of these goods are initially just 1. Okay. And the price rises. So the price of 1 is 2, and the price of 3 is a half. The initial choice remains just as affordable. That's an important statement. The changes in the chosen purchases are delta Q1, delta Q2, and delta Q3, and this behavior satisfies warp. So which of the following must be true? So we have 4 options here. I nearly said a couple, but it's not a couple, it's 4. So we have our 4 options here. We have the fact that the changes cumulatively are less than 0. The changes are cumulatively more than 0. The total budget is higher than 0. Total budget change is higher than 0. Total budget change is equal to 0. So what will be happening? So let's read what I did. So warp, or the weak axiom of real preference, stipulates, did I spell that correctly? I think so, that we cannot choose a bundle that was previously affordable. Okay, so basically, if I knew something was previously affordable and I didn't pick it, then I've already displayed that my original choice was preferred, so why would I pick that choice again, right? So I'm not going to pick something that was cheaper than it before. So fundamentally, it can't be less than, because if it was less than, I would be violating warp by basically picking a bundle that was affordable to me before. So it can't be A or B, basically. So it has to be either C or D. So let's think about C or D. Now, overall, our total budget's not going to be changed, okay? All we've changed here is the prices. We haven't changed total budget, which means that the total change in our budget, which is represented by this term, because it's prices times the change in quantity, so this would be change in total budget, our change in total budget can't be positive, because if it was positive, then we'd expand our budget, and that's just not the case. So the change in budget has to be constant, meaning, well, basically there is no change in budget, meaning 0 is correct. So from the combination of these, the fact that it has to sort of keep with warp, and the fact that it has to stay with the same budget, D works, okay? So those are the 2 sort of easy ones. Let's move on to part B. Can I zoom in a little? There we go. So there are 2 questions in part B. Question the number 1 requires a bit more... question the number 1 requires a bit more drawing. But let's read, okay? So a new university, wow, has 9 million to spend on research. Fucking hell, what university is this? So research is X and other activities is Y, of which it currently plans to spend about £3 million on research. Its funding body considers the following plans in attempt to encourage research. Okay, so we have 3 plans here. We want to either, 1, increase the funding unconditionally to 12 million. Plan B is to increase the funding to an unconditional 9 million. Basically, okay, I should probably explain that unconditional means there's no cap on what you need to spend, and conditional means there is a specific cap or restraint on how much you're spending, or something like that. That's sort of how we get unconditional and conditional demand functions, but that's a story for another time. Anyways, plan B is to increase the funding to an unconditional 9 million plus an additional 3 million if and only if the university spends at least 6 million on research. So, if the university spends 6 million on research, they get an extra 3 million. Okay? Good stuff. Now, plan C is to increase the funding to an unconditional 9 million, kind of similar to plan B, plus half of whatever the university spends on research. Okay? So these are the budget sets, and we want to find expressions for the budget sets and sketch them. Now, also, what we want to do is plot the university's preferences, because the university chooses to spend constant budget shares on research and other goods. It wants to spend 1/3 of its budget on research and 2/3 on other goods. And this is a linear budget constraint, so thankfully it's not too, under any linear budget constraint. But the fact that it's just ratios makes it a lot easier for us. Then it wants to ask us what bundles we pick, which one spends the most on research, and which provides the lowest funding. Okay, I've drawn it out here for you guys. Okay, here it is. So these are our sort of 3 different plans. I've also included the original, just so it's clear. So you can see with the original here, we have our original 9 million, and it's just a standard budget constraint. Keep in mind here that I've assumed the prices for research and other activities are generally constant. So I'm just going to keep it sort of a straight line unless, something else comes along. So The original, obviously, 9 to 9, it's just going to be 9 million cumulatively. A, first of all, increasing the funding unconditionally to 12 million. Now, the fact that we don't have any constraints on this means we can just keep it the same way, and we've still got the same line, we've just changed the points to 12. This is all that's changed, really. So you can see the plan A is very far out. It's indicated with the red. Okay. So, then we have for plan B here, increase the funding to an unconditional 9 million, so it's going to start at 9 million in the same way, plus an additional 3 million if and only if the university spends at least 6 million on research. Now, you see that as we slowly go down with plan B, it's basically going to be the same as the original until we reach 6 million. Then we suddenly get a 3 million bonus, okay? And then we continue down same way until we get to 12, okay? Think of it this way. It's sort of like if I spend 6 million, I suddenly now have 6 million, which is the 3 million from before, plus the extra 3 million we've got here. So it's going to be cumulatively 12 million. Very fun. I hope you guys understand this jump at 6 is going to be simply just the quick sort of discontinuous thing when we pass 6 million in research. Okay, so that's plan B. Now plan C is a bit more complicated, okay? Increase the funding to an unconditional 9 million plus half of whatever the university spends on research. Okay, so let's think about the numbers here. I wonder if I can... Actually, the whiteboard might be a little helpful here. I don't want to expand the screen too much with it because it normally takes up like a big portion of the screen. Did I even click on that? Hold on. Dear Lord, I can't get the stuff these days. Did that work? Excellent. Okay, so think of it like this. Let me move this over here. Okay. Okay, so let's think about it first, okay? Unconditional 9 million plus half of what the university spends on research. So I'm going to make two columns, X and Y. Okay, so this one's for research, and this one's for other. Okay? So let's say we just start by spending nothing on research. We have 9 million to spend on other, right? Now, let's say I spend 1 on research, right? Now it says we're going to add half of whatever the university spends on research. So we're going to add 0.5. So now our total budget is 9 plus 0.5 or 9.5, which means that I can spend my remaining amount, 8.5, and this is what it goes to. This relationship continues. It sort of is going to look something like this, where we're going to keep doing this. If you want to sort of pause to figure it out, it helps, but think of it like this. Okay, so research, I have 4 spending on research, I half that, it's 2 million. 2 million plus the 9 million gets me 11 million. And then 11 million minus the 4 million I already spent on research is what I get for other goods. Okay? Now, what does this look like? Well, it actually just looks like I've reduced the slope, right? It's going to just be a reduced sort of sloped version. And we can see that in plan C. We can see how the slope is essentially half of what we saw before because we're going to essentially get our monies back. So we're going to continue on this way. And it's going to continue all the way to spending about 18 million on research. Not that we will do that, but that is a possibility with this plan. Where we basically, basically. If I go continuously, it'll be like that. Anyway, those are the budget sets. Now, let's look at the preference relation. So the preference relation here says that we have to spend 1/3 on X and 2/3 on Y. Now, this is what this line shows. For every point on here, 1/3, basically, we've got 1/3 of X and then 2/3 of Y, in this case. Now, thankfully, this just continues onwards, right? And we can see this intersects with all our budget sets, so it's all good. Now, let's answer some questions, okay? Maybe I'll keep this up. Yeah, I'll keep this up. So first of all, what bundle would the university choose for each of the plans? Well, we can see here that they very clearly intersect. So for plan A, we've got this bundle out here. Okay. Now, of course, given that we've got to do 1/3 and 2/3, and our total amount here is going to be 12 million, we're going to be spending 4 million on research and 8 million on other goods. I think that's what I said. Yeah, that's the case. So that's going to be what's going on. All right. Then for plan B, we see that it's basically got the same as the original when it starts. So it's going to essentially have the same bundle as the original because we haven't really reached that 6 million yet. So we're not going to get that spike. And even if we did get that spike, it would kind of be useless because, we've already spent 6 million on research. We've already surpassed the halfway mark. We're not really going to be possible to go there. So it's going to be the same as the original. Then for plan C, it's sort of a mix. Here, as a matter of fact, it's going to be, I think, 3.6 and 7.2. I think I calculated that right. Yeah. If you sort of think about the intersection of these lines, you can calculate it. But you could also sort of just, I think, plot this out in GeoGebra. I think if you did GeoGebra, yeah, this is what I sort of got. I did the preference relation in red, and I've got the line in orange. And then you get that. Ta-da! Okay. Don't save. It's all good. Okay, so, first of all, let's see which plan results in the most being spent on research. Well, it's fairly obvious. The furthest to the right will be the one most spent on research, which is Plan A. They're spending about 4 million on research. Then we're asking which plan results in the funding body providing the lowest funding. Well, very simply, it's going to be what's cumulatively the least. So, in this case, that's just going to be Plan B. They're spending cumulatively 9 million. In Plan C, they're spending cumulatively, I think it's 10.8 million, and in this case, they're spending 12 million. So, Plan B is the cheapest, pretty much. Yeah, that's the deal. I think that's it for the first question. Now let's look at the second question. This one's quite simple, I think. A typical pensioner has an income of £50 for which £10 is spent on fuel. The government decides to instigate a reform cutting the pension to £45 but subsidising fuel for pensioners to the extent that the price is halved. Is the typical pensioner better or worse off? Well, they're not better or worse off either way, really. So, the typical pensioner, okay, assuming everything holds constant, okay, let's think about this. If I'm at the start, okay, I have £50 to start with, and I spend £10 on fuel, okay, how much am I going to have left over? Well, I still have 40 quid left over. If they cut the pension and cut the price, well, my pension is 45 and my price is halved, so my price is 5 now, right? So 45 minus 5 with the half price is still £40 left over. I'm not going to be better or worse off. I still have the same amount of income at the end of the day once I've spent it on fuel. Okay? Now, better off is a very bad sort of way of phrasing this because it's just, I don't know what you mean exactly by better or worse off. Do you mean like total in income or not? It's vague. But what I'm sort of saying is that given the relative change from just deducting the amount I spend on fuel is about the same, I'm not better or worse off. Now, will the pensioner's fuel consumption rise or fall? Now, the case is here that it won't rise or fall. Now, think of it like this. Okay, I think this was brought up last week, but you can think of alcohol, right? Your consumption of alcohol doesn't really change too much, depending on your income. Alcohol is sort of something you will buy regardless of income, and if you get more money, sure, you can spend maybe a little bit more, but it's limited, fundamentally, by your ability to consume it. You can't consume too much alcohol, otherwise you'll die, and you can't consume it too often either. So there's a cap on how much you can actually spend on it. This is the same case with fuel. Your car doesn't always need fuel. It's not getting a constant supply of fuel. Your car needs fuel every now and then. It's not going to need fuel every day of the week. It's not going to need fuel constantly. This means that it's not really going to, be dependent too much on the price. You're going to buy fuel regardless for your car because often, a car is a necessity and a car isn't really a luxury in many cases. So fuel consumption really doesn't change too much if the prices are halved because, you're not going to suddenly stock up on fuel when you go to the garage to bloody, get more bang for your buck because your car only stores so much. Sure, there may be extraneous cases where people fill up cartons full of fuel, but that doesn't really happen. We're assuming that it can really only be stored in a car. So, in my opinion, it doesn't rise or fall because, when I own a car, I won't buy 2 times more fuel if the price goes down. I'll simply buy it when I need it again. So, will the cost of the subsidy exceed or fall short of the pension expenditure? This is from the perspective of the government now. So the government, the subsidy is a cost, right, to them. They're paying for the price of the fuel for the pensioners, yeah? So they're paying for the fuel. So that's the subsidy price. Now, the reduction in pension expenditure is going to give them some money. So will the cost of the subsidy exceed or fall short? Well, it's actually going to fall short. The government's going to make more money out of it. And the reason is that you don't buy fuel every week is the thing. You simply don't buy it that frequently. Whereas pensions come in weekly. So it's going to be a reliable source of income. So the government is going to get £5 off every single pensioner every week. Whereas when it comes to fuel, well, you're just not going to do that every week. You're not going to fill your car with fuel every single week. So it's going to be much more inconsistent. It's going to happen less. It's going to happen when people don't use their cars. It's going to happen when people just feel like walking or cycling. It's going to be different because pensioners vary in their car usage, but they don't vary in the amount their pension gets. So because the pension is more consistent and the price change on cars isn't, the government's going to gain more because they're going to get a more reliable source of income rather than the inconsistent amount of cost. Okay, I think that's clear. Hopefully I've helped you guys out. Make few assumptions as you need to answer these questions, okay? We're just sort of assuming nothing, really. We're just assuming, like, it's the standard case. But yeah, that's sort of the case there. I hope this was helpful, just so you guys can get your stuff done. I know you guys are very busy, so I want to make sure that you guys are doing okay. But yeah, I think that's it. If you guys have any questions, feel free to, like, I don't know, like, comment or like, most of you probably know me on the group chat, so you can probably just text me. But yeah, hopefully this helps. All right. Hope you have a nice day. I'll see you around. Bye.